Yeah, what I wanted to talk about is reaching kids where they are and what we do in BBC Children's and Education. So I'm going to give a bit of an overview of what we do, what my team does, what our portfolio looks like, and then also kind of how we approach covering promoting a brand in digital spaces and what we think about when we develop those plans. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're doing on some core platforms. So that's YouTube and TikTok and Roblox as well. So all quite timely. Yeah, that's me. My job title is quite long. It's Head of Digital Media Platforms and Planning. But essentially, my team look after the editorial content for CBBS and CBBC in digital spaces, and also a little bit of bite size as well. As you may know, the BBC's mission, as it's always been, is to inform, educate, and entertain all audiences. And we do that by making sure that we deliver a value for all strategy. And that is making sure that all audiences in the UK get value from the licence fee. So that's the real focus and the sort of Northern Star that we work towards at the BBC. And then what that means for me and my team and our responsibility is we've got the amazing content that children's TV make, as well as the education platforms like Bite Size. And our responsibility is to make sure that gets out to young audiences in digital spaces. So ultimately, we are giving them value where they are, but also bringing them back to platform to make sure that the BBC is well loved and trusted and used by a new generation of audiences. So we split our portfolio between what we call on estate and off estate. So just give you a sense of kind of what we cover and how it's used. Obviously, we've got iPlayer at the top when we have a reach of 2 million a week there. Then we have a preschool portfolio, so that's the CBB's website. We also have a suite of apps that we have there, and they reach up to 1 in 5 kids per week. And then in children's for 6 to 12, we have the CBBC website. And then our education portfolio includes Tiny Happy People, Newsround, Teach, and Bite Size, and that reaches around about 3 million people per week. And then if you look at office stay activity, that's a very bright slide, sorry. It's quite mixed, and it's a lot of spaces that we're in, each for a different reason. So you can see there that when it comes to CBBS in particular, we're speaking to sort of 2 core audiences. We're talking to the grown-ups and we're talking to the kids themselves. So the grown-up portfolio sits across social channels. For children, we do quite a bit of activity on YouTube. CBBC, we've got YouTube, TikTok, Instagram for the older end of our demographic there. And then we're also in Roblox as well, which I'll talk about in a minute. Newsround is on YouTube and TikTok. And then Bite Size, we're in a lot of spaces too. So you saw there some Big Manny's content that's on TikTok, which does really well for us. And I think really great way to talk to the audience in a different way. And also you see there that we've launched WhatsApp for Bite Size, which has been really interesting because it is a great way to get traffic referral in a way that some of those other platforms aren't designed for you to leave. So it's a really nice way that we can get our GCSE content out to the audience who need it. And then also we will be launching an experience in Roblox for Bite Size later this year, which is really exciting. So in all of what we do on the off estate activity, it's about reaching those kids where they are and going to them to make sure that we're building brand awareness and we're finding those new audiences and delivering value as well. So what I just wanted to give a sense of kind of how we approach our thinking. We have a huge number of brands across the portfolio that we try and support each year. And as you would have seen in some of the scale of the platforms that we're talking about, there is so much that you can do and so many spaces that you can be. We can't do everything everywhere all at once. So what we do is when we're approaching promoting a program and developing a campaign, we start thinking about these 3 core areas. So firstly, the audience, and I think a really important part of that is thinking about the different audience groups. So maybe for CBBS, you're talking about parents as well as kids. They will have a targeted approach for each. But also thinking more specifically about the audience segment that you're trying to reach. And I think that's particularly pertinent when you get to sort of 7+ age groups. So really thinking about who are those kids, what are they into, what are their passions, and really understanding what motivates them and what will get them to a program. So that I think there's quite a lot there that you can explore, and that can really help shape what you do, so it can be really targeted and specific. And then also the other thing we look at is the content itself. So for us, we often think about, what is the public service message that we want to get across from the content? What is the hook that's going to draw that audience in? And what is it that really resonates with the show and the editorial? And how can you shift that into a digital space and use that as the hook? And then lastly, but very importantly, we're understanding the platforms that we're looking to play on. So it's understanding who the audience are, what might interest them, and then where they are and where we can kind of go find them and serve them something that's going to be useful. What we found, for example, is that live action dramas work quite well on TikTok. Animations don't so much, but animation is great for YouTube. So it's just thinking about where are those communities and those pockets that you want to speak to. And then the other thing is, we've sort of spoken about a little bit on the panel today, is understanding what those platforms are doing right now. What worked yesterday might not work today. The platforms evolve, the algorithms change. So really understanding what those spaces are like and to get where the opportunity is. So all of this is kind of our starting point when we start to think about, okay, we've got the show we want to promote. Where should we be? Where should we put our efforts and our energies and our budgets as well to kind of create content that will reach that audience? So that kind of gets us to where we need to be to understand, how can we develop a campaign that is going to cut through in a very crowded, noisy space. So hopefully that's helped just give a bit around our thinking. But I want to talk specifically about a few of the platforms that we're on and what our activity looks like. So first up, YouTube. We know that YouTube has a huge reach for the audience that we're trying to get to. And what the real focus for us is how can we be there and bring the audience back. We have been doing this for a long time. We've got quite a bit of activity on YouTube. You can see we're hitting about 57 million monthly views at the moment across a portfolio of CBBS and CBBC. We recently launched an animation vertical channel for YouTube for our 7+ animation shows. And that for us was quite a change, I think, because it was really about thinking that YouTube rewards you doing something very well, being very specific and doing it well. And sometimes our aggregator channels, which are multi-genre, have trouble cutting through. So we wanted to make sure that the 7+ animation, which is a key part of the BBC's content strategy, had a way to get out to that audience. So we're starting to think a bit more in ways that can sort of really help with the way that YouTube designs discovery. And a little bit of what we've been talking about, we really want to do more on YouTube, and we want to do it in a way that feels authentic to the platform and what the users expect to find there. So we've had good success using promotional content from shows, so the program material. But what we're interested in now is doing some more spin-off content around our brands that it feels more YouTube native and speaks directly to the audience. I think we've spoken about it today, but really thinking that authentic connection and having that face and that person is so important. And I think sometimes for us there's been a little bit missing. So what we're focused on as we go into the new year is doing more on YouTube, being more present and making sure that we deliver good value for the BBC. So it's about us sort of being there in a high quality way. So there are two cool things that we're doing as part of that. So we're looking at YouTube program spin-off content for 7+, particularly around live action and entertainment. So thinking about how we can take those shows and those brands and turn them into YouTube formats. And then also we've been running live streams for CBBS, which we started at the end of last year. You can see there the Sleepy Time one. And what that is a curation of content that we already have on YouTube, but most importantly wrapped with our CBBS presenters. So it feels like a lovely CBBS house version on YouTube. And that's important for us because we want to make sure we get that magic of CBBS and what we're so good at and what the presenters have a great connection with the audience. We wanted to bring that to life so that the experience of the BBC on YouTube could be more valuable and more rich. So that's a little bit of what we're doing on YouTube, but it's a priority for us as we go into the new year. So TikTok. TikTok again is about us, being there and making sure that we deliver good value. And where we've seen some really great success is the stuff that we're doing on Bite Size. but also for Newsround. So we brought Newsround into TikTok a few years ago, and it was really important for us to make sure that we were delivering that good quality, impartial news to kids where they really needed it. And that's what the research was telling us, that kids were using TikTok as a search engine. It's the most popular source of news for that age group. And what they were finding was a huge amount of misinformation and fake news. And Newsround can deliver that so well and really support kids. So we wanted to be there in that space. So what we started to do was to put content out, but we make sure that it's social first. So these are examples of some of the news stories that we've turned into TikTok content. And what's really key for us is that we're using topics that are interesting kids, and we're putting a lot of explainers out that have been really useful, but it's also about getting a kind of new hook on an existing story. And the presenters are also a really great way for us to get that personal connection and to have personal voice on the platform. So it's been really interesting, and I think the take-up's been really good, and it just goes to show that kids really want that content there. So that is TikTok. And then lastly, I'm going to talk about Roblox. These numbers aren't quite as massive as the massive numbers you've seen on Roblox, but for us, we're really happy with this. And the reason why we went onto Roblox and we launched an experience called Wonder Chase that I'll show you in a minute, is that we wanted to be where the audience was, and we know a huge section of the audience is there. They're playing a lot, and we just wanted to make sure that the BBC was relevant in those spaces and sort of front of mind, ultimately to grow that brand awareness and to bring back to iPlayer. So we launched Wonder Chase in April last year. It was a unique collaboration between my teams in digital and children's, but also grown-up TV as well, who look after the teen bracket. So it was a really great way for us to sort of extend the experience. And what we wanted to do was create the BBC, but not as you know it. So it's quite weird and quirky and strange, but you'll see a lot of the BBC famous faces within there. And what it is it's a world with mini games within it that feature some of our priority brands. So we've had Doctor Who, Match of the Day, Natural History, Next Step, which is one of our biggest CBBC shows. Wallace and Gromit had an activation in there before Christmas, and Super Happy Magic Forest, which is one of our new 7+ animation shows, which is awesome and really fun, and that was great to bring into the experience. But alongside that, we also decided to do the election last summer, and it was quite quick turnaround because no one thought the election was going to be in July, so we had to move quite quickly. But it was a really interesting way to experiment with how you can use the platform. So what we wanted to do was find a way to teach kids about the democratic process in a different way. So the aim of the game is you have to follow Larry the cat from Downing Street and help him collect the ballot boxes in order for the votes to be counted. And alongside that, we ran Newsround content that explained how the election process worked. So we got around 230K users for that experience, which was great. And we got an awful lot of press coverage. It was all quite fun and interesting, I think, way to kind of engage young audiences with the news. There's a lot I could talk about with Roblox and what we've learned about being on the platform. What I would say is discoverability is key, as you've got a sense of. Roblox is huge. There is a huge number of experiences on there. So you have to put a lot of effort and energy and some budget towards making sure that your experience is discovered. One really great way that we've used is giving away UGC, so some of those accessories that you wear for your avatar. We give those away for free in our experience when you complete certain challenges. That's been a really great way to hook audiences in, and really fun and creative as well. So for Wallace and Gromit, we were able to get some of that IP stuff, so you could get the glove on your head to be with feathers. And it was just really nice, and it's a really great way to extend your brand beyond your experience too. And like I say, we have got bite-sized Roblox launching later this year, and I'm really interested in that to understand how can we use Roblox as a platform to give a learning outcome as well. So keep an eye out for that one. It looks really great, and I think it will be really fun too. I'm going to finish it off because it's late and I thought you might want to see something fun. So I've got a video clip now that's going to show you what Wonder Chase looks like and some of the things that we've done within it. So thank you. Oh, thanks.
Oh,